The NFL has announced its 5 games for the 2022 International Series, and we're excited about the NFL going global. Yes, 5 games overseas, 1 in Mexico City, multiple games in London. You're also going to have a game in Munich, Germany. Let's get into the action here today. It was announced on Good Morning Football in May by the NFL. One of the first games we will see is the Minnesota Vikings taking on the New Orleans Saints in London, and this will be on October 2nd on NFL Network. Tommy, I like the overseas games. I think it's important for the NFL to continue to expand its global footprint. I think bringing NFL games to different countries is great rather than adding another NFL team to a potential overseas thing, which the NFL has looked at in the past. I'm not a big fan of that. I am a big fan of the NFL being able to take various teams overseas. And hey, we're going to start things off with the Vikings, and the Saints is one of those games.
Yeah, I would much rather prefer having more games outside of the U.S. than trying to do an expansion team. So it's way too many things logistically that would need to take place. At least in a situation like this, guys, like teams can choose, hey, do we want to take our bye week after this, and then kind of mitigate some of like that jet lag that is inevitably going to happen for some of these teams. But yeah, starting things off with the Vikings and the Saints, a rematch of the Minneapolis Miracle back from the 2017 playoff game. I think it's a good one. The Vikings are a kind of team. They've got some young talent on the team, but hey, can Kirk Cousins still get the job done for him? How is Adam Thielen going to be looking when he's coming back from injury? And then the New Orleans Saints. This is a team that made quite a few upgrades this offseason. Some people are saying they're the potential dark horse winner of the NFC South. It's all going to come down to Jameis Winston's health and how Michael Thomas comes back. We know they've added in Chris Olave. You still got Alvin Kamara on this team right now, pending see what happens with that whole situation. You bolstered up that defense too. So I'm a fan of this one. It's not one of the matchups I was expecting, but looking at it on paper, I think it's a cool game.
I feel like the NFL series here, at least in 2022, the NFL has added a lot more star power.
It's a good slate.
Firepower, to it, which is great because, you know, nothing against the Jets from last year, the Jaguars from last year. The NFL, these overseas fans deserve to have some big names, big name players playing in these games. And that's going to take us to this next game, not necessarily for the New York Giants, but for the Green Bay Packers. The New York Giants will take on the Green Bay Packers in London as well, October 9th on the NFL Network. Aaron Rodgers and company, they get to travel overseas to take on Daniel Jones and Brian Daboll in his first-year stint as head coach for the Giants. This will be very exciting as well. But for the Green Bay Packers, it's also a little bit of a notch on their belt in the NFL's International Series game.
Yeah, every team has to at some point play overseas, and the Green Bay Packers, they will be the 32nd and final team in the NFL to make their appearance overseas. I think it's a good one. Like the Green Bay Packers have one of the biggest fan bases in the sport. Like they travel so well. You see cheeseheads at every single game, and I know the fans of them that are overseas, whether they're from America, whether they're just fans over there that just like the NFL. I'm sure the Green Bay Packers will be a fan favorite of this one. I would expect this to be like the quote-unquote home atmosphere because people are going to see Aaron Rodgers. They want to see what this team looks like. It doesn't have Devontae Adams on anymore. Still a ton of talent on this team. And also get to see, hey, what does Christian Watson turn into? Hopefully he's kind of been able to progress and kind of develop into an NFL caliber receiver. Romeo Doubs also on this team. Aaron Jones back there in the backfield. I'm excited for this one too. And at that point, hey, is Daniel Jones still viewed as the guy? Has he been able to kind of turn it around under Brian Daboll? It's still early in the season. We'll have a couple games under his belt to kind of get this offense figured out. Where the Giants roster, are they healthy? Is Kadarius Toney still on this team at that point? Or has he been replaced at this point by Wan'Dale Robinson, the kind of draft kind of has that same kind of role? So yeah, I think it's a cool one. 9:30 in the morning. It's rough if you're over here, especially if you're rough on the West Coast. You play fantasy football. Get those lineups set the night before because you're not getting up in the morning to make any changes just in case we've got some guys that are going to be kind of questionable for that kind of game. Get those lineups locked in early. But yeah, it's going to be an early start on the East Coast. Don't even worry about it if you're on the West Coast. Y'all going to be sleeping third. You can catch the breakdown of before you watch on NFL Red Zone.
Well, the next game that we'll get to as well, October 30th. This game will be an exclusive ESPN Plus, which I have my own thoughts on that. I'm not a fan of the NFL making football fans have to subscribe to another thing just to be able to watch a game. Teams in the local markets. The Denver Broncos will travel to take on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Russell Wilson and Nathaniel Hackett taking on Trevor Lawrence and Doug Peterson. Obviously, it's going to be exciting. Jacksonville loves being over in the UK. They've opted into this quite some time. They've been a very consistent presence over there. But for those fans, if you're a Jaguars fan or Broncos fan, you will still be able to watch this game in your local markets. However, if you're a fan of either of these teams and you live away, you have to subscribe to ESPN Plus, which shame on the NFL for doing that, by the way. But anyways, Tommy, what are some other notes about this matchup, October 30th on ESPN Plus?
The big of this one is, what's the progression look like in year 2 for Trevor Lawrence without Urban Meyer no longer on this roster, kind of finger pointing his way out of this team, so long as everyone stays out of the chop house. Hopefully we see an improved Jacksonville Jaguars team with Christian Kirk on this roster. Travis Etienne now back to being fully healthy, added some more upgrades on defense, but will that be enough to stop the Denver Broncos and this very loaded offensive attack that we're going to see with Russell Wilson? They bring back Melvin Gordon to play with Javonte Williams, Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, Tim Patrick, KJ Hamler, Albert Okwuegbunam. You also bring in Greg Dulcich to kind of be that number 2 on this team. Offense is on fire. Defense looks phenomenal. It's the Denver Broncos will be one of the best teams in the NFL. We'll see if that translates, how they carry that over there, going into London, into Wembley Stadium. It's going to be a rough one for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I don't see them pulling off the same thing they did last year when they took on the Buffalo Bills and knocked them off. But yeah, hopefully we see an improved Jacksonville Jaguars team, but it certainly looks like the Denver Broncos will be the favorite team in this matchup.
Well, now we get to a matchup here that extends to a brand new site for the NFL International Series in Munich, Germany. The Seattle Seahawks, led by Drew Lock, will travel to take on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Tom Brady. Once again, overseas fans getting some star power here with Tom Brady. You know, at this point in time, you look at the Seahawks, we understand they're going through what we believe is the rebuild. Players on their team don't believe that they're rebuilding. The talent is there for them. There is some potential there, obviously, with 3 running backs that they have on the roster, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett. But I think for the most part here, this is going to be a game that showcases really probably just Tom Brady. Like, that's probably going to be the talk for this game here. But I'm also intrigued, Tommy, like these games that we've talked about here in the International Series, it's going to be later on in the season. So I wonder what some of the storylines will be for these teams at this point. Like, what's going to happen beforehand that maybe impact the optics of these matchups? That, to me, I think is a fun mystery.
Yeah, especially being a November 13th game. We're kind of at that midway point of the season. Who's going to be the quarterback of the Seattle Seahawks at this point? Is it going to still be Geno Smith? Is it Drew Lock, who won that quarterback competition battle and have been able to secure that job moving forward? Is Kenneth Walker still, is he the lead back at this point, or is Rashad Penny and Chris Carson be able to stay healthy? So is that going to be a 3-headed attack, or are they kind of down to 1 to 2 backs on this? But yeah, I agree with you. The draw on this one is absolutely going to be Tom Brady. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers have been 0-4 in their overseas games, so they said, we're going to throw you a meatball here and choose a team that's rebuilding. But yeah, Tom Brady is absolutely always going to be the draw. It's still a team that is absolutely a championship caliber team. Despite taking a couple knocks during the offseason, during free agency, they lost a couple guys. They were still able to bring back plenty of guys on this roster. As long as Chris Godwin at this point should be fully recovered from his ACL tear he suffered last year, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to be a solid team. I'm still going to assuming until he announces retirement, I'm still assuming Gronk's going to be on this roster also at some point. So we got guys over there in London. Keep an eye out for Rob Gronkowski wherever you guys like to drink at. I'm sure Rob Gronkowski will like to have a little bit of fun over there. But yeah, it'll be business for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as they transition away with Todd Bowles as their head coach instead of Bruce Arians. But yeah, this definitely draw is going to be Tom Brady in this one. It's a good one. I'm glad that Germany, they're getting a game. They're getting a featured star player. I'm pretty sure that's why you're sending Tom Brady to Germany, to bring in that fan base in a new area.
Oh, yeah, spot on there. And this might be the most entertaining international series game on paper, on the schedule. The San Francisco 49ers will take on the Arizona Cardinals in Mexico City. This will be a Monday night football game, NFC West division rivalry. What will be the storyline here for the San Francisco 49ers when this game does happen? Is it going to be Trey Lance, who's their quarterback? Is it going to be Jimmy G? Is Deebo Samuel still on the roster? Like, there's still so many unanswered questions right now. But looking at it on paper, this should be probably the most entertaining matchup of all of them.
Yeah, it really should be. And also, football fans are going to be able to get a little bit of a treat if you live here in the U.S. With this game being played in Mexico, it'll be an 8:15 kickoff Eastern time, as this game is going to be played on Monday Night Football. Midway through the season at this point, too, on November 22nd, so we will get DeAndre Hopkins back. So this should be, barring injury, a full go offense for the Arizona Cardinals with Kyler Murray, with DeAndre Hopkins. You're going to have Marquise Brown on this team. It's going to be a loaded offense without question for the Arizona Cardinals. And I think the question, like I said, it comes down to, is it going to be Trey Lance or is it Jimmy Garoppolo under center? I think it's going to be the absolute storyline. That'll probably be settled out before this takes place. But I do agree. I think of all the games, this is the one I'm probably the most intrigued about, because it's going to be a divisional battle. Divisional battles right now, especially in that NFC West, you're going to have to try to win every single game because it's going to be hard to try to win that division this year.
Well, if you're a fan of football in London, Mexico City, or Munich, Germany, let us know your thoughts on the NFL International Series here for 2022 in the YouTube comment section down below. Make sure you smash that like button, hit the subscribe button as well here at Pro Football Network.